Everything seemed fine until the morning Marcus found the prayer journal. He hadn't been looking for it. He was going through her side of the closet, slowly, the way you do when every object is a small collision. And there it was, behind a stack of folded sweaters, a plain notebook, the kind you buy at a drugstore, her handwriting on every page. He sat down on the floor and read it. She had been praying for him, not in a general way, not, "Lord bless my husband," specifically, by name, for his health, his work, the way he carried stress in his shoulders, the way he laughed at his own jokes before he finished telling them. She had been writing these prayers for years, apparently, pages and pages of them, a whole private conversation with God about this one ordinary man who drove a 10-year-old Civic and coached his daughter's soccer team on Saturday mornings and had no idea any of this was happening. He sat on the floor of the closet for a long time, and then, very quietly, the thing he had been swallowing for 8 months came up. Not grief. He knew grief by now. Grief had a shape, a rhythm, a particular weight in the chest that he had learned to carry the way you learn to carry anything heavy. By adjusting your posture, redistributing the load, moving carefully around corners. This was different. This was heat. This was, and he knew it the moment he felt it, and he felt ashamed the moment he knew it. This was anger. At God. She had prayed. Every day, it seemed, for years. She had trusted specifically and sincerely, and written it all down in a drugstore notebook. And she was gone. And the prayers were still there on the pages, going nowhere, addressed to someone who had apparently not been keeping the same kind of record. Marcus closed the notebook, set it on the floor beside him, and didn't know what to do with what he was feeling. He didn't pray that night, or the night after, or for a long time after that. Maybe that's not exactly your story. Maybe your journal looks different, or your loss came from somewhere else. A decade of asking for the same thing and receiving silence. A child who didn't get better. A marriage that ended anyway. A door that stayed closed so long you eventually stopped knocking. Maybe it wasn't one moment on a closet floor. Maybe it was slower than that. A gradual cooling, a faith that used to feel warm and has felt room temperature for so long, you can barely remember what warm was like. But maybe the feeling underneath it is familiar. That specific combination, genuine belief and genuine fury, sitting side by side in the same chest, with no instruction manual for how to hold both at once. That's what this video is about. Not around it, not despite it, about it. In the next hour or so, we're going to walk through something together. A story, Marcus's, and maybe something of yours. A psalm that is remarkably almost entirely composed of anger aimed directly at God. Not decorated anger, not spiritually managed anger. Raw, confrontational, 4 times repeated anger. A reflection on what that anger might mean and where it might belong. And then a prayer that doesn't pretend. There's a candle in this video. I want you to notice it before we go any further. It's not there as a prop or as atmosphere. It's there as a statement. That light doesn't wait for the darkness to be over before it arrives. It comes into the middle of it. That's the only thing it's saying. That's enough. But right now we're not at the light yet. Right now Marcus is sitting on a closet floor with a notebook that broke something open in him. And the anger he doesn't know what to do with is real and present and completely without resolution. That's where we start. In the middle of the hard thing. Before any of the answers. Because that's the only honest place to begin. There's a particular kind of morning that comes with this. Not the first morning. The first morning everyone knows about. The first morning is impossible. and somehow the impossibility of it is almost a container. What's harder is the morning weeks or months later, when the rest of the world has clearly moved on, and you are still here, still in the same kitchen, still carrying the same weight. And underneath everything, underneath the grief and the going through the motions and the showing up, there is something hotter and harder that you haven't known what to do with. Maybe that's where you are right now, not at the beginning of something, somewhere in the middle of it, past the point where people check in as often, past the point where your own pain feels fresh enough to justify how heavy it still is. And the thing underneath, if you're honest with yourself, in this specific moment, with no one watching, the thing underneath might be anger. Not at circumstances, not at the illness or the situation or the way things unfolded. At God, the one you prayed to, the one you trusted, the one who, as far as you can tell, was there for the prayers and absent for the answers. I want to say something about that before we go any further, and I want to say it plainly. What you're feeling is not a sign that your faith is broken. It might actually be a sign that your faith is real. You cannot be this angry at someone you never genuinely believed in. You can only feel this betrayed by a God you actually trusted. Indifference doesn't produce this kind of heat. Only relationship does. 3,000 years ago, someone felt exactly this, and they didn't manage it. They didn't convert it into something more presentable before bringing it to God. They wrote it down exactly as it was, and it became one of the most honest prayers in the entire Bible. His name was David, and what he wrote wasn't a meditation or a devotion or a carefully structured theological reflection. It was a confrontation. It begins like this. How long, Lord? Just that. 4 words. Not Father. I come before you humbly. Not Lord in your infinite wisdom and sovereign plan. Just, how long? The words of someone who has been waiting for a very long time and has stopped pretending that the waiting is fine. Sit with those 4 words for a moment. How long? There's a whole life inside them. The accumulated weight of prayers that felt like they landed on a ceiling. The specific exhaustion of continuing to show up for a relationship that seems to have stopped being mutual. The point at which patience stops being a virtue and starts being the only option left. And then David continues, will you forget me forever? That word, forever. This is not a mild theological concern. This is not someone raising a careful question about the nature of divine attention. This is a person standing in front of God and asking, do you even know I'm still here? Let that land for a second before we move on. How long will you hide your face from me? Hide your face. The accusation is direct. David is not saying I feel distant from you. He's saying you are the one who turned away. You stepped back. You went quiet. Not me. And then the 4th question. How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? 4 times. How long? How long? How long? How long? That repetition is not accidental. It's the rhythm of someone who has asked this question before and not received an answer. Someone for whom the question has become a companion. The first thing in the morning, the last thing at night, present in the middle of conversations that have nothing to do with it. Maybe you know that rhythm. Maybe how long is the question underneath all your other questions? How long do I keep going like this? How long before something shifts? How long before I can feel that God is actually present? How long before the weight is different from what it is right now? Here's what I want you to hear. Really hear. This psalm is in the Bible, not in spite of its anger, not as a cautionary tale about what not to say to God. It's there because someone decided, under the guidance of the same Spirit that holds all of Scripture together, that this is what honest faith sometimes sounds like, that these words belong, that there is room in the conversation with God for exactly this. Your anger has a home, and it's older than you think. Look at the candle for a moment. It's still burning. It didn't respond to any of what we've just named by going out. The light doesn't flinch when the honest thing is spoken. The presence doesn't leave when the anger enters the room. That's all the candle is saying right now. Just that. Let's stay inside the psalm for a while, not on the surface of it, not the way you read a verse on a sympathy card or hear one quoted at the end of a sermon. I mean really inside it, because there are images in these 4 questions that the closer you look, the more they start to resemble the inside of your own chest. The first one is the word forget. Will you forget me forever? Not abandon. Abandon at least implies a decision, something deliberate, something that required intention. Forget is different. Forget is what happens when something slips below the threshold of attention. When life moves on and a name doesn't quite make the list today. I want to ask you something about that. Have you ever sat in a room full of people who seemed to have a faith that was working? People raising their hands, talking about answered prayers, describing the way God showed up in their week, and felt more alone than if you'd stayed home. Not because you don't believe, but because whatever you're carrying doesn't seem to be in the same category as what's being described. Like there are 2 kinds of people in the room, and you're not sure which kind you are anymore. That's the fear inside the word forget. Not just that God feels distant, but that God has moved on, that somewhere in the vastness of everything, your specific grief, your specific anger, your specific situation, didn't make it onto the list. Got lost somewhere. Stopped being tracked. David names that fear without softening it. He doesn't say, sometimes I wonder if perhaps in your great and sovereign wisdom my circumstances may not currently reflect your awareness of my situation. He says, will you forget me forever? The rawness of that is not a failure of faith. It's what faith sounds like when it's been under enough pressure for long enough that the formal language falls away, and what's left is just the real thing. The second image is harder. How long will you hide your face from me? In the ancient world, the face of God carried enormous weight. It meant attention, presence, recognition. To have God's face turned toward you meant you were known, seen, held in the full awareness of the one who made you. It wasn't metaphor. It was the whole thing. And to feel that face turn away, or to feel as though it had, wasn't just a spiritual dry spell. It was closer to erasure. So when David says hide your face, he isn't describing feeling a bit distant from God. He's describing the specific experience of having built his entire life around a presence that seems to have quietly stepped out of the room. And then he says the thing that I think takes the most courage in this entire psalm. He says, you are the one who hid, not me. Can I sit with that for a second? Because I think a lot of people who are angry at God have been told, implicitly or directly, that the distance is their fault. That if they prayed differently, trusted more fully, examined their heart more carefully, the presence would return. And there is a version of that which might sometimes be true. But there is also a version of a person who showed up, who prayed, who trusted, who kept showing up, and still felt the face turn away. And for that person, David's words are not theology. They are recognition. You are the one who hid, not me. Anger that says that is not the absence of faith. It is faith that has been honest enough to stop performing. The third image lives inside the body. How long must I wrestle with my thoughts? Wrestle, not think. not struggle. Wrestle, which implies physical effort, real exhaustion, the kind of fight that leaves you on the floor even when it happens entirely inside your own head. The kind that makes concentration difficult and sleep unreliable, and the simplest decisions feel like lifting something far too heavy for one person. I don't know if you've noticed this about grief and anger, about the kind that has nowhere to go. It doesn't stay still. It moves. It finds the inside of your skull at 3 a.m. It shows up in the middle of conversations that have nothing to do with it. It makes you say things you don't quite mean and go quiet at moments when you used to have something to say. You're not falling apart. You're wrestling. There is a difference. Falling apart implies collapse. Wrestling implies you're still in it, still refusing to simply lie down and let the weight win. David calls it wrestling with his thoughts day after day. Not once. Not in a crisis moment that eventually passed. Day after day. Which means this was the texture of his ordinary life for a period of time. Not a phase he moved through. The weather he lived in. If that's where you are, I want you to hear this. You are not weak. You are not failing at faith. You are doing exactly what David described 3,000 years ago and named, without embarrassment, without apology, as his honest experience of being human before God. The psalm gives you permission to be exactly where you are, not to stay there forever, but to be there now, honestly, without performing something you don't feel. The candle is still burning. The light doesn't require you to be okay before it stays present. We've been in the hard part of this psalm for a while now, and I want to be honest about something before we go further. Going further in a psalm like this doesn't mean leaving the pain behind. It means going deeper into it until you find something solid underneath. Not a way out. Something solid. Something that holds weight even when everything else feels like it doesn't. Because that's what David does. He doesn't climb out of the valley. He goes further in until his feet find ground. After those 4 raw questions, the how longs, the hidden face, the wrestling, David does something that can sound, if you read it too quickly, like a sudden pivot. He says, "But I trust in your unfailing love." And I want to slow that down. Because if you hear it as a pivot, as David suddenly remembering his theology and correcting course, you miss what's actually happening. Read just the first 2 words again. But I trust. Not, I feel your love. Not, I can see your hand in all of this. Not, I understand now why it happened this way. Just, I trust. Present tense. A verb, not a feeling. Something chosen, not something experienced. There is a difference between trust as an emotion and trust as an act. An emotion comes and goes depending on circumstances. An act is something you do with your hands, even when your hands are shaking. David isn't saying the pain is gone. He isn't saying the questions have been answered. He's saying, in the middle of all of this, I am still choosing to lean in the direction of your love. Not because it feels true right now, because I am not ready to stop. I want to stay with that distinction for a moment, because I think it matters more than almost anything else I could say today. If you're in the place Marcus was, sitting on a closet floor, a notebook in your hands, the anger real and present and without resolution, the last thing you need is someone telling you that faith is supposed to feel like trust. Most of the time when you're carrying what you're carrying, it doesn't feel like anything in particular. It feels like going through motions. It feels like a conversation with someone who may or may not be on the other end. And what David shows us is that the choice can still be made when the feeling is completely gone. That counts. I really believe it counts. Now the next fragment. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I know. Maybe right now your heart doesn't rejoice in much of anything. Maybe the word salvation feels abstract, or distant, or like it belongs to a version of you that existed before this particular weight arrived. But here's what I think David is doing in this line. He's not describing his current emotional state. He's reaching back. He's saying, I have known this. There was a time when this was real for me. I am holding on to the memory of it even when I cannot feel it in the present. That's not pretending. That's someone gripping the last thing they have and refusing to open their hand. Maybe that's where you are, not able to feel much, but somewhere underneath everything, still holding on to something you knew once, something that was real. You haven't let go completely. If you had, you wouldn't still be here, watching this, carrying this question you haven't been able to put down. The fact that you're still asking means you haven't let go. And now the last line of the psalm, the one that closes everything. I will sing the Lord's praise, for he has been good to me. I want to be careful here because this line can be misread easily. It can sound like the happy ending, like the psalm resolved itself into something clean and David is singing now and everything is fine. That's not what I hear when I sit with it. What I hear is defiance, not joy, or not only joy. The defiance of someone who is still in a hard place, who has not received the answer they needed, who has not seen the circumstances change, but who has decided that the darkness does not get the final word. Not because things are better, because something in David refuses to let the silence be the last thing he says. I will sing. Future tense. A declaration made in the middle of the valley, not from the other side of it. Now, the practical part. And I want to be honest that practical doesn't mean easy or immediate, or something you'll feel ready for today. When the anger spikes, when something happens and the old heat comes back, the why and the how long, try coming back to the very first verse of this psalm, not the last one, the first one. How long, Lord? Let yourself say it, out loud if you can. Let the question be the prayer, because what David shows us is that the question itself, directed at God, unresolved, unanswered, is already a form of staying in the conversation, already a form of not letting go. When sleep won't come, and if you're carrying what I think you might be carrying, there are nights when it won't. Try sitting with just this one fragment before you close your eyes. I trust in your unfailing love, not as something you feel, as a choice you're making for one more night. One night at a time is enough. It has always been enough. And the candle, look at it now if you can, not as a symbol of something that's coming later, as something that is here right now, inside this specific moment of difficulty. The light didn't wait for the valley to end. It came into the valley. That's what it keeps saying. Not that the darkness will lift, but that it is not alone in the dark. Before we go any further, I want you to take a breath. Just one. Slow. Let your shoulders drop if they've been up. You've been sitting with some honest and heavy things, and that takes something out of a person. There's more ahead, a reflection that goes even deeper, and then a prayer that I hope will feel like yours by the time we get there. But first, just this. One breath. One moment of not having to do anything with what you're holding. Sometimes words need to stop, and the silence does what no sentence can. Look at the candle for a moment. Just the flame, the way it moves slightly, not dramatically, just that small constant tremor that a living flame always has. The way it doesn't hold perfectly still but doesn't go out either. The way the darkness around it presses in from every side and the flame just stays. There's something about a candle that asks nothing of you. It doesn't need you to be okay. It doesn't need you to have figured anything out or arrived anywhere. It just burns. Quietly, regardless of what's happening in the room around it. If you can rest your eyes on it for a few seconds. You don't have to pray right now. You don't have to think. You don't have to hold yourself together in any particular way. You can just be here, with whatever you brought into this room today. The anger, the exhaustion, the questions, the faith that is smaller right now than you'd like it to be. All of it is allowed here. God doesn't need the darkness to end before showing up in it. The flame is small, but it's here. Take one more breath, and when you're ready, let's keep going. I want to come back into this slowly, because what just happened, even in the quiet of those few minutes, wasn't nothing. And I don't want to rush past it as if it didn't count. There's something I've been sitting with for a while, and I'm going to try to say it the way I actually think it, rather than the way it would sound better. I think the church, broadly, across traditions, across the whole wide landscape of Christian faith, has done something it probably didn't intend to do. Something that has caused real damage to real people who were already in real pain. It taught us, mostly by what it didn't say, that anger at God is a spiritual problem to be corrected. That if you're angry, the right response is to examine yourself, to ask what sin might be causing the distance, what lack of faith might be producing the silence. That anger is a symptom of something wrong with you, not a legitimate response to something genuinely painful. And so people learn to manage it, to convert it quickly into something more acceptable, into grief which is allowed, or into doubt, which at least sounds intellectual, or into silence, which at least doesn't make anyone uncomfortable. And the anger went underground, and underground, without air, without acknowledgement, without anyone telling it that it had a right to exist. It began to do its slow work, eroding things from below. I've seen this happen. I felt something like it myself, at different points, in different forms. That specific experience of sitting inside a faith community and feeling that there is a part of what you're actually carrying that you cannot bring into the room. That there's a version of you the room can hold, and then there's the real version, and those two things have quietly stopped being the same. That gap between the self that shows up for faith and the self that's actually living, that gap is where a lot of people lose their way. Not in a dramatic departure, not in a single moment of decision, just in the slow accumulation of a self that has never been fully brought into the presence of God, because it was never sure it was allowed. So I want to say something plainly. Your anger at God is not a sign that your faith is failing. It may be the most honest thing your faith has produced in a long time, but I also want to stay honest about the other side, because I think honesty requires both things, and I don't want to give you only the part that's easier to hear. I don't know why the prayers weren't answered the way you needed them to be. I don't have a satisfying explanation for why someone faithful and sincere can pray with everything they have and still lose what they were praying not to lose. I've heard the theological frameworks, the sovereignty of God, the mystery of suffering, the idea that God is working in ways we cannot see. I'm not saying those things are false. I'm saying that when you're sitting on a closet floor at 6 in the morning with a notebook in your hands, those frameworks don't always reach the place where the pain actually lives. And I think it does more harm than good to pretend otherwise. There's a kind of pastoral dishonesty that looks like comfort. It arrives quickly. It has clean sentences. It moves from the problem to the resolution without spending enough time in the middle. And the person receiving it walks away feeling vaguely unseen. Not because the words were wrong exactly, but because they were too tidy. Real pain is not tidy, and anything that meets it with tidiness is on some level not quite meeting it at all. So I'm not going to offer you tidy. What I want to offer instead is this. The valley is real. The silence has been real. The anger is real. None of that needs to be softened or reframed or spiritualized before God can be present in it. In fact, and this is the thing I keep coming back to, this is what keeps feeling true even when I can't fully explain it. I think God is more present in the honest thing than in the managed thing. More present in the raw prayer than in the composed one. More present in the how long than in the carefully worded surrender. Not because the surrender isn't real or valuable, but because the how long is where you actually are. And God, if God is anything like what this psalm suggests, meets you where you actually are, not where you're trying to get to, not where you think you should be, where you are. Marcus is still in that place. I want you to know that. His situation hasn't changed. The notebook is still on the floor. The loss is still the loss. But something has shifted, not in the circumstances, but in the way he is standing inside them. He stopped trying to convert the anger into something more presentable. He stopped managing the distance between the self that shows up and the self that's actually living. He brought the real thing into the room, and the room didn't collapse. That's not resolution. I want to be clear about that. It's not the moment when everything got better. It's just a man deciding to stop pretending and discovering that the thing he was most afraid of, that God would confirm the absence, that the anger would finally break something beyond repair, didn't happen. The candle is still burning. Not because the darkness ended. The darkness is still there, around the edges, but the light came into it, has been in it, not waiting at the end of the tunnel for you to arrive. Already here, inside the valley, inside the kitchen, inside the closet, inside the specific and unglamorous place where you actually are. I want to come back to the image that has been running through this entire video, the hidden face of God. David's accusation that God turned away, that God stepped back and went quiet. I introduced it at the beginning as an accusation. Evidence of absence. The thing David was angry about. But I've been sitting with it differently as this conversation has gone on. And I don't know if this will land for you right now. It might not, and that's okay. But I want to say it anyway. I wonder if sometimes what feels like God hiding is also God waiting. Not absent, not indifferent, but present in a way that doesn't announce itself. Present the way a person can be fully in a room with you without making a sound. Not gone, just quiet, in a way that asks something of you that feels, in the hardest moments, like more than you have to give. I'm not saying the hiding was easy. I'm not saying the silence was a gift you should have been grateful for. I'm saying that maybe the absence you felt was not the whole truth of what was happening. Maybe something was present in the silence that couldn't be seen from inside the pain. Maybe. I hold that loosely. I'm sitting with it the same way you are. But here's what I do feel, quietly and without drama. The fact that you're still here, still watching, still carrying this question you haven't been able to put down. That means something. Not as a formula, not as evidence for a theological argument, just as a human fact. You haven't let go. And in my experience, limited and imperfect as it is, that's not nothing. That might actually be everything. In a moment, I want to invite you into something. Not a performance, not a ritual, just a conversation between you and God, with all of this on the table. The anger, the questions, the exhaustion, the half-belief that is somehow still here despite everything. But before we get there, I want to give you one more moment to let this settle. You don't have to arrive anywhere before we pray. You don't have to feel ready or resolved or even willing. You can bring exactly what you have, which might not be much right now. It's enough. It has always been enough. I want to carry the tone of what we just said forward carefully. Because what happened in that last part wasn't a warm-up for the prayer. It was already part of it. The prayer has been building for a while. What we're about to do is just give it a voice. But first, I want to speak directly to you for a moment. Not to everyone watching. To you, the specific person in the specific place you're in right now. Whatever room you're in, whatever time of day it is, whatever you brought with you into this video that you haven't told anyone else about. I don't know your name. I don't know exactly what happened to bring you here, but I have a sense, because of the way this particular pain works, because of what it does to a person over time, that you have been managing something alone for longer than was ever fair to ask of you. That there is a version of what you're carrying that you have shown people, and then there is the full weight of it, and those two things are not the same. And the gap between them has been exhausting in a way that's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't felt it. You don't have to close that gap before you pray. You can bring the gap itself. The distance between who you've been presenting and what you've actually been living. That gap is allowed in the room. In fact, I think that gap might be exactly where the prayer needs to start. So here's what I want to invite you to do. Gently, without pressure. If you're able to, place one hand over your heart. Not as a gesture that carries any particular meaning, just as a way of being physically present to yourself for a moment. A way of acknowledging that there is something in there that has been working very hard for a very long time. If you'd like to close your eyes, close them. If you'd rather keep them open and rest your gaze on the candle, do that. It's still there, still burning, still asking nothing of you except that you notice it hasn't gone out. Take one slow breath, a real one, the kind that actually reaches the bottom of your lungs. Now I want to say something I mean, and I want to say it simply. I don't think it's entirely an accident that you ended up here today. I'm not saying that in a manipulative way. I'm not suggesting this video was engineered into your feed as a sign that everything is about to change. I don't know that, and I won't promise it. What I'm saying is simpler than that. You were looking for something. Maybe you didn't know exactly what. Maybe you typed something into a search bar late at night, or this came up in something and you decided to stay with it past the first 30 seconds. And what you brought with you, the anger, the exhaustion, the faith that is barely holding on, the questions without answers, the feeling that God has been quiet for too long. All of that is exactly what this prayer is for. Not a prayer for people who have arrived at peace. Not a prayer for people who have resolved the tension. A prayer for someone who is still in the middle, still carrying the weight, still angry maybe, or still numb, or somewhere in between where it's hard to name what you're feeling anymore. God can work with exactly what you've brought. The doubt, the anger, the half-belief that is somehow still here. None of it disqualifies you from being heard. David walked into that psalm with nothing but his questions and his fury and his exhaustion. And he was heard. Not because he cleaned himself up first, because he came. That's all that's being asked of you right now. Just come as you are. Bring the real thing. Let it be in the room. If you're ready, and ready doesn't mean feeling good, or feeling faith, or feeling anything in particular. If you're ready in the simple sense of being willing to try, then let's pray together. Let's pray. And before the first word, you don't have to feel anything in particular for this to be real. You don't have to manufacture warmth or sincerity or the sense that someone is listening. You can be exactly as hollow or as angry or as tired as you actually are right now. Bring that, all of it. Lord, I don't entirely know how to start this, so I'm just going to start. There is someone here who has been carrying something very heavy, And I don't mean that in a general way. I mean the specific weight of having believed in you, having prayed to you, having trusted you with something that mattered more than they knew how to say, and still losing it, or still watching it remain unchanged despite everything. Still arriving at this day with the same unanswered question sitting in their chest before they've even had time to remember where they are. And underneath all of it, underneath the grief, the exhaustion, the going through the motions, there is anger. Real anger. The kind that doesn't dissolve when you sing the right songs or remind yourself of the right theology. The kind that has been living quietly inside a faith that was supposed to have room for it, but mostly didn't. The kind that comes from having believed genuinely, prayed honestly, trusted with everything, and still arriving here, still in this, still without the answer that was needed. I want to name that anger before you right now. Not apologize for it, not explain it away, not frame it as something this person should have handled differently or should be further along from by now. Just name it. Because you already know it's there. You've known it was there the whole time. And I really think, that you have been waiting for it to be said out loud, in your direction, without a disclaimer attached. So here it is. This person is angry, and the anger is real, and it belongs in this room, and now, something else. You are here, not at the end of this, not waiting at the other side of the valley. Here, in this room, in this moment, in the specific and unglamorous place this person is actually in right now. I don't say that because I feel it perfectly. I say it because I have chosen to believe it, and I think that choosing counts. I think you receive that kind of faith, the kind held with shaking hands, chosen rather than felt. I think you receive it the same way you receive any other kind. You are here. The candle burning in this room is not incidental. It's a statement, and the statement is, I have not gone anywhere. I did not hide so completely that I cannot be found, and this person has not wandered so far that they are beyond the reach of a presence that was never actually absent, only quiet, only waiting to be addressed honestly the way David addressed you, without cleanup, without composure, with nothing but the real thing. You are here. I'm standing on that. Just that. So here is what I want to ask for. Not in general terms. Specifically, give this person the ability to get through tomorrow morning. Not the whole week, not the whole month. Just tomorrow morning. The specific ordinary difficulty of waking up again and facing the same world that has been so hard to face. The moment before the wait remembers to arrive. Give them something in that moment. A breath. A stillness. A small quiet sense that the day is not entirely empty of you. On the nights when sleep won't come, and there have been many, and there will probably be more, be present in the insomnia. Not to fix it, just to be there in it. Let there be something in the dark that is not only dark. Give this person permission to stop converting their anger into something more acceptable before bringing it to you. Let them bring the real thing. Receive the real thing. Because the real thing, the fury, the how long, the will you forget me forever, that is still a voice turned in your direction. That is still relationship. And I believe you know the difference between a person who has turned away and a person who is screaming at you because they still believe you can hear them. And when trust feels completely unreasonable, when the gap between what was believed and what was experienced is so wide that one more step toward you feels like more than there is energy left for, give just enough. Not certainty, not resolution. Just enough for one more step without knowing where the path leads. That's the ask. One more step. And now, at the end of this, I want to lay something down. Not because the weight is gone. It isn't. Not because the questions have been answered. They haven't. Not because the anger has resolved into something easier to carry. It may not have. But because the hidden face, the face that felt turned away for so long, I am choosing right now, in this moment, to believe it was never fully turned away. That it was here. That it has been here. Inside the valley. Inside the closet. Inside every unanswered morning. And because carrying this alone is no longer required, that's all this is. I'm setting it down, not throwing it away, not pretending it doesn't exist, just opening my hands. Whatever you do with it, whatever that looks like from where you are, it doesn't have to live exclusively inside me anymore. You can have it. Amen. Take a moment before you move. Just stay where you are for a few seconds. That was real. Whatever you felt or didn't feel, you brought the real version of yourself into a real conversation. That counts. God heard it. Not because the prayer was beautiful or followed the right form. Because you came. Because you were still willing to try, even now, even carrying this. That's not a small thing. You can come back to this video on the days when the weight returns, and it will return. That's just the truth. You are allowed to come back here, to the psalm, to the questions, to the permission to bring the real thing, to a candle that doesn't go out. And I want to ask you something before you go. Think of one person, just one, whose name you already know. Someone who is in their own valley right now, carrying their own version of this anger, or this grief, or this exhausted half-belief. You don't have to set anything up or explain anything or make it a moment. Just send them this video. That's all. Let it be for them what I hope it was for you. Sometimes the most quietly generous thing we can do for someone is say, "Here I found something that sat with me in the dark. Maybe it will sit with you too." If this kind of content, honest, unhurried, unafraid of the hard things, is something you want to stay close to, subscribe. There is more of this. More psalms. More honest conversations about what faith actually looks like when it's being lived in real circumstances by real people who don't have all the answers. If you want to be here for those, that's how you stay. And if you want to leave a comment about the valley you're walking through, or a psalm you'd want to hear next, or just something that landed for you today, I'd genuinely like to read it, not to respond with a formula, just to know you were here. David ended his psalm with defiance, not joy, or not only joy, the defiance of someone who decided that the silence would not be the last word, that the darkness did not get to write the ending. I will sing the Lord's praise, future tense, from inside the valley, before the answer came. Maybe that's where you are too, not at the end of anything, but still here, still willing to say something in the direction of a God you're not entirely sure is listening. That counts. It has always counted. The candle is still burning.